يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن علي ولي الله وأولاده المعصومين حجاج الله أشهد أن علي حجة الله وأولاده المعصومين حجاج الله إيا الصلاة إيا الصلاة إيا الفلاح إيا الفلاح إيا على خير العمل إيا على خير العمل. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم ولعن عدوهم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغ مدحته القائلون ولا يحصي نعماءه العادون ولا يؤدي حقه المجتهدون الذي لا يدركه بعد الهمم ولا يناله غوص الفطن الذي ليس لصفته حد محدود ولا نعت موجود ولا وقت معدود ولا أجل ممدود فطر الخلائق بقدرته ونشر الرياح برحمته ووتد بالصخور ميادان أرضه والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وخاتم النبيين الذي سمي في السماء بأحمد وفي الأرض بأبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. وآله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين من الأولين والآخرين آمين يا رب العالمين. فقد قال سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه الكريم وهو أصدق القائلين وقوله الحق. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فمن كان منكم مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات. Salamun alaykum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. On the day of Juma, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept all of our good deeds that we have done throughout the week and forgive us of our bad deeds that we may have committed throughout the week. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raise all of our marhumeen who have passed away, especially marhuma Sayyida Tanzil Nur Fatima, who has passed away this week and we buried her. And anyone else who has passed away amongst the mu'mineen, mu'minat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raise them in paradise. Ma'a ahlil bayt alayhimus salatu wassalam. Last week we dissected the chapter of iftar. We began with the prayer. We said that though the Muslims pray at large, over 1 billion Muslims pray, just under 2 billion Muslims pray every day, 5 times a day. But unfortunately, there is no one unanimously agreed method of prayer. Then we said last week that in the month of Ramadan, all Muslims, wherever they may be living, fast. Yet again, unfortunately, there is an agreed upon time when to break fast, 10 minutes later or 10 minutes earlier. Which I said, quite frankly, is embarrassing for Muslims because so many Muslims, yet they have not reached a common platform of breaking of the fast and a common methodology of prayer. One thing is for sure, the Prophet only prayed one way. Whatever that way is, he only prayed one way. It's not that today he prayed a different way and then tomorrow he prayed another way and the week after he prayed another way. There's only one way anyway. Siratu Aliyin Haqq. There's only one path, and that is the path of Ali. In the same way now, there is another issue which I want to dissect quickly, is the issue of the fast of the musafir when he's in safar or in hadar. The person who is in safar is a musafir. He is the one who's traveling. And the person who is in hadar, he's not traveling, he's at home, the non-traveler. We, the Shia of Ahlul Bayt, we do not fast in safar. When we travel, when we are musafir, when we are classified as musafir, as travelers, we don't fast. However, we have seen that many of our Sunni brothers, even in travel, they will fast. What does the Quran and the Sunnah say about the fast of the traveler? The verse that I recited is Surah Al-Baqarah, Surah number 2, verse number 183, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clearly says, فَمَنْ كَانَ مِنْكُمْ مَرِيضًا أَوْ عَلَى سَفَرٍ. If anyone amongst you is mareed, is ill, is unwell, أَوْ عَلَى السَّفَرِ, or he is traveling, فَعِدَّةٌ مِّنْ أَيَّامٍ أُخَرَى, then he should make up that fast in other days. Not in Ramadan. If he's fasting, if he's traveling in Ramadan, or he is mareed, or he is unwell, he's ill, he's sick, he or she, they take medication, they're hospitalized, they cannot fast, fasting will make things worse. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says fast in other days, outside of the month of Ramadan, when you get better. And so clearly, the verse of the Holy Quran is crystal clear, that there is no fast for the traveler, and there is no fast for the mariz, the one who is unwell. Of course, there is qada. It has to be made up as soon as one can. Durud padhiye Muhammad wa ali Muhammad par. The Mufassir of the Holy Quran of the Ahlul Sunnah in Pakistan, Maulana Shabir Ahmad Usmani, he says that according to this, the traveler has, he has an option. He does not have to fast in traveling. He can fast after he finishes his traveling. So when he's back home, or if he's ill, once he gets well, then he can continue his fast. An example from Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari, the famous companion of the Holy Prophet. He says that once the Prophet was in Safar, the Prophet was traveling, and he stopped at a maqam where he saw that a lot of people were surrounding one man. There was a man sitting, Qais Amiri, his name was Qais. He was sitting and everyone had surrounded him as if they were all shading him. So the Prophet came and he said, "What's going on here?" He says, "Prophet, oh Prophet, this man, obviously he's in Safar, he's traveling, and it's hot, and he's fasting, and so everyone is shading him. So they keep him away from the heat. He's fasting." According to Sahih al-Bukhari, the Prophet replies with the following words. قال صلى الله عليه وآله في صحيح البخاري ليس من البر الصوم في السفر. The Prophet replies, fasting in Safar, in travel, is not a good deed. In other words, there is no fast. He looked at him and said, there is no fast for the traveler. Bukhari. Sunan Abi Dawood wa Sunan Ibn Majah. Again, 2 of the other 6 books of the Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah say the similar thing. لَيْسَ مِنَ الْبِرِّ الصِّيَامُ فِي السَّفَرِ. Fasting as a traveler is not fasting. There is no fasting in travel. Or for example, in Sahih Muslim, this is the 4 books now out of the Sihah Sitta. لَيْسَ مِنَ الْبِرِّ لَيْسَ الْبِرِّ أَن تَصُومُ فِي السَّفَرِ. It is not befitting, it is not right to fast if you are a traveler. Durud padhi Muhammad wa ali Muhammad par. Now what about the one who does fast? Let's say someone does fast as a traveler. How much thawab does he get? How much reward does he get? Or does he get any thawab? The answer is, there is no reward for the fast of the traveler, period. Full stop. There is no ifs and there's no buts. The person who is a traveler, he does not have a fast. Sometimes the people came to the Prophet, "Oh Prophet, but it's easy for us. I can fast. It's not mushkil. It's not difficult. It's not difficult. I can fast." He says, no, there is no fast for the traveler, full stop. And one of the traditions, again in Sunan Ibn Majah, says, As-sa'im Ramadan fi safar kal muftir fil hadar. He says, the one who fasts in, the fast of the traveling person, it is as if he is breaking his fast at home. In other words, there is no fast. The Fath of Makkah, as the Holy Prophet marched towards Makkah, the conquest of Makkah. As you know, when the Prophet marched with 10,000 of the Muslim troops towards Makkah near the end of his life, the tradition states that when he reached a maqam between Makkah and Medina, where he had passed he was fasting, he marched in the month of Ramadan, he was fasting. And as he reached out of the city, he stopped in a place. And the hadith is both in Sunni and Shia sources. In the Shia sources, it has been narrated from Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam. The Holy Imam says when he reached between Makkah and Medina, it was the time of Dhuhr and Asr. He said to the people, "Bring me a bowl of water." He marched in Ramadan. When he left Medina, he was in the state of fasting. When he came out of the city, he says, "Bring me water." They brought him a bowl of water and he drank it in front of the companions. Shahr Ramadan, Sa'im, fasting. the month of fasting. He drinks the water. Then he commands the companions, you too do iftar. But some of them said, no, so it's Zohr Asr, it's not Maghrib. It's not sun hasn't set yet. How can we do iftar? The Prophet said, Baba, I'm doing iftar. Some people were more Muslim than the Prophet. More Iman than the Prophet. He said, how? It's not Maghrib. Anyhow, the Prophet made iftar. News reached him that there's a bunch of companions lagging behind who are refusing to make iftar. And the Prophet says, by God, they have disobeyed me. By God, they have disobeyed me. जब रसूल को बताया गया कि कुछ ऐसे मुसलमान हैं जो रोज़ा इफ्तार नहीं कर रहे, तो उन्होंने कहा, खुदाई कसम वही नाफरमान है, वही नाफरमान है, वही नाफरमान है. They have disobeyed me, they have disobeyed me, they have disobeyed me. There is no sawab for the one who fasts in the month. There's no sawab for the one who fasts as a traveler. Durood padhiye Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Then the Prophet says, look, the fact that Allah says to the traveler and He gives the traveler this flexibility that the traveler doesn't have to fast, the Prophet said it is a gift from Allah. And then he says, will you then refuse the gift of Allah? Hadiyah, it's hadiyah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Rukhsa. It's a rukhsa, it is a hadiyah, it is a flexibility. If Allah gives you a gift, take it. Or will you refuse it? You see, this is it, right? This is Islam. The Muslim has to take Islam as and when Allah commands. Not that I'm going to take this much and I'm going to leave that much. Or this is easy for me. Salat, easy. Saum, okay, easy. Hajj, zakat, easy. But Wilayat Ali ibn Abi Talib, sa'ab. It's difficult. No. Whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives and how He gives, this is how you are to take it. And so, a person said, but the Prophet, look, we're not far. I can do it. He says, no. It is as if you are turning back the gift of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Recite salawat, please. And finally, I end with this. A man came to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam and the Prophet, he was this man was a traveler, and apparently from the traditions it seems maybe a new Muslim. He travels into the city, comes to the Prophet. The Prophet, honoring his guest, he gives him some food. He calls him to the table for food, or he lays out a sheet on the floor and he puts food. And this is the Prophet, I'm a traveler, I'm fasting. The Prophet then says, sit with me. He sits down and he explains to him, he says, look, there is no fast for the traveler. He explains to him, when you're traveling, salat is qasr, and the fast, qada, has to be done later on. So what do we get out of this? What is the natija of the bahth? What is the conclusion of this short discussion? Number one, Surah Al-Baqarah, the verse that I recited, clearly says that there is no fast for the traveler and there is no fast for the ill, the one who is marid. Number two, the Prophet himself did not ever fast in Safar. When he did, he broke it, and he commanded others to break it, to make iftar. He made it clear to his companions that there is no sawab, there is no reward for the one who fasts while he is traveling. Number four, the one who still continues to fast, even though it may be easy. You may say, look, it's not hot. It's cold, it's raining. I can drive there and back. Even then, the Prophet says, one who still fasts despite that is someone who has disobeyed me. And 5, finally, the last point is that the one who fasts as a traveler, it is as if he turns back the gift of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has flexibility. The deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made deen easy. And the deen should be easy. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants yusr. He does not want difficulty for the people. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us tawfiq, that we're able to follow on the true Muhammadan and the Ahlul Bayti teachings of this deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to grasp the true ma'rifah of the deen and the ahkam of Al-Muhammad. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all of the mu'mineen and the mu'minat. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give shifa, ajila wa kamila to all those who are unwell. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raise the ranks of our marhumin in Jannah ma Ahlul Bayt alayhimu salatu wassalam. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Wal asr. Innal insana lafi khusr. إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. سبحان من سبقت رحمته غضبه. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيد المرسلين وخاتم النبيين محمد بن عبد الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. اللهم صل على أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب صلوات الله عليه. اللهم صل على صديقة الطاهرة الشهيدة والمظلومة والمقتولة صلوات الله عليها. والصلاة والسلام على سيدين الإمامين الحسن والحسين سيدي شباب أهل الجنة. والصلاة والسلام على 9 المعصومين من ذرية الحسين على علي بن الحسين زين العابدين ومحمد بن علي الباقر وجعفر بن محمد الصادق وموسى بن جعفر الكاظم وعلي بن موسى الرضا ومحمد بن علي الجواد وعلي بن محمد الهادي والحسن بن علي العسكري الزكي والحجة بن الحسن المهدي صلوات الله وسلامه عليهم أجمعين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة بن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك توعة وتمتعه فيها الطويلة برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. صلوات. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. I bring to you yet again another companion of Amir al-Mu'mineen. And let's see who can guess this one. This is a companion whose name has forever been associated with a very famous dua. Dua Kumail Ahsan. Kumail ibn Ziyad al-Nakhai Subhani al-Kufi. Kumail is known as one of the close and noble and distinguished companions of Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen amongst Kufa, like Maytham al-Tammar we discussed in the previous weeks. Kumail was someone who was known for this dua because it is said that Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen taught him this dua. Some say on the 15th of Sha'ban, where Amir al-Mu'mineen recited this dua in sajda. And some of the historians say that Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen directly taught this and said to Kumail, Kumail, memorize this, write this, and recite this dua. And so this dua today we recite every Laylatul Juma is dua of Kumail, which is also known as dua Khidr, the dua of the Prophet Khidr. Anyhow, When was he born? There's a difference of opinion. There seems to be some gap here in history. Some say after the Prophet, some say before the Prophet. Some say he was 18 years of age when the Prophet passed. Some say he died a year or two. Some say he was born a year or two after the departure of the Prophet from this dunya. But what's for sure is that he was one of those close companions of Amir al-Mu'mineen who knew the secrets of Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib. Those 7, 8 companions that were close, some of them we already discussed. He was amongst the closest of Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib. Someone who learned directly from Ali ibn Abi Talib. Someone who Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib taught in Kufa. He was amongst the first ones to give the pledge of allegiance, the bay'ah, to Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib in Kufa when Ali ibn Abi Talib became caliph as the fourth. But of course, Kumail was amongst the Shia of Ali ibn Abi Talib. He was amongst the first ones who rose up against the third caliph to have him kicked out of office and bring Ali ibn Abi Talib in. So it was always against those who came before Ali ibn Abi Talib, and someone who was a staunch supporter like Maytham, like Qambar, and the ones that we've discussed already before. Someone who saw the life of Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib, and someone after Ali ibn Abi Talib saw the life of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba alayhi salatu wassalam. In regards to Kumail, it says, we have some narrations from him that he would accompany Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib. Sometimes he would accompany him in his house, sometimes he would accompany him in the wars. For example, the Battle of Siffin, the Battle of Nahrawan. Kumail was there. One night, he was walking the streets of Kufa with Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib, and as they walked by a house, from within the house, they heard the recitation of the Holy Quran. Beautiful recitation of the Holy Quran, that a person is up in the middle of the night crying and reciting the Holy Quran. And this shook Kumail, and he started, he became very uneasy, and he says, Ya Amirul Mu'mineen, how much pain there is in the voice of this man, middle of the night, praying to Allah, reciting Quran. What beautiful recitation of the Holy Quran. Amir al-Mu'mineen looks at him and he says, do not let the recitation of the Quran of this man fool you. This man is amongst the people of the hellfire. He says, what do you mean? Ya Ali, what is this? This man is reciting Quran, his voice, middle of the night. He says, oh Kumail, one day you will understand. You see the difference between Ali and Kumail? The Imam and Sahabi. Sahabi sees the Zahir. Imam sees the Batin. He says, oh Kumail, you will understand one day. Many years fast forward, the Battle of Nahrawan. In the Battle of Nahrawan was Ali ibn Abi Talib against who? Khawarij. And we know from traditions that out of 10, all of Khawarij died in that battle. 10 escaped. 9 or 10 escaped. Out of those 9 or 10 that escaped, one was Abdul Rahman ibn Muljam Mal'un. La'natullahi alayh. One of them was this person who killed Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib. The Holy Imam says, look, you will understand. That day on the battle at the end of the battle, when the bodies of the Khawarij lay on the floor, Ali ibn Abi Talib had a sword in his hand, and it was as if he was looking for something in the bodies that lay there. And Kumail was with him. And as he was looking, at one point he stopped at the body of one person. He says, Kumail, you remember that night? The person reading the Quran, you thought that this person is guaranteed paradise. Well, there he is, that Khariji. This is him. So do not be fooled by the recitation of someone's Quran. Because there are many people who will recite good Quran, beautiful Quran. But as the hadith says, that there will come a time in my ummah, people will recite the Quran, but it will not go below their throats. It will just regurgitate here. It's like replaying a video on YouTube. No ma'nawiyya, reciting Quran, but at the same time fighting the one who's natiqul Quran. Padhiye salawat Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. In another tradition, interestingly, is as if Imam Amir al-Mu'minin Kumail had a lot of one-to-ones. And it shows you the high and distinct caliber of Kumail, that, sometimes you can have a class of 30 students, but it's not the same when you have one-to-one with a teacher. Kumail one day accompanies Imam Ali. Imam Ali takes him into the desert. At one point, Imam Amir al-Mu'minin stops him. He says, stay here. He goes towards a well and he looks into the well. And he speaks to the well. Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib speaking to the well. And he cries. And Kumail comes up and he says, Ya Ali, what is the matter? He says, Oh Kumail. Then he points to his chest. This is what? This is the ilm of Rasulullah. هذا لعاب رسول الله. علم رسول الله. He says, I have ilm here. Oh, how I wish I had recipients and receivers for this ilm. There was so much knowledge in Ali ibn Abi Talib that he wanted to impart. But there wasn't, not that there wasn't people, there were people. But they did not have that capacity and the caliber to digest and take what Ali ibn Abi Talib was to give them. Just like when the Prophet wanted to, they said he's a magician. And so it's only a few really that benefited from Ali ibn Abi Talib. Kumail, Salman, Mitham al-Tammar, Ammar. The rest of them didn't. One day, Kumail and Amir al-Mu'minin walk into a graveyard. And Imam speaks to the Amwat. He speaks to the dead. Ya Ahl al-Qubur, O people of the grave. What is the news with you? Ma khabarun indakum, what news do you have? And then he says, the news here is that your children are orphans. Your wealth has been divided. Your wives have moved on and married. This is the news of the dunya. What news do you bring? I give you just a few of some of the statements that Amir al-Mu'minin mentions directly to Kumail. If you want to hear some of them. O Kumail, start your day with Bismillah and La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. O Kumail, there is no knowledge except that I, Ali, am the opener of that knowledge, founder of that knowledge. O Kumail, do not take anything except from us. O Kumail, when you finish eating, thank Allah for the sustenance and thank Him loudly, so when others hear you, they thank Him too, because this will increase in your reward. O Kumail, do not fill your stomach with food. Keep place for water and space for air. O Kumail, hear this. O Kumail, do not turn away the poor, even if you can only give them one grape or one date. O Kumail, always tell the truth. Surround yourselves with the pious and stay away from the hypocrites, the munafiqeen. And finally, O Kumail, those who win in this life win a passing life which is temporary. So understand what I've said to you and you will win the hereafter which is eternal. I end with this. As for the past few weeks, when you remember the companions that I've mentioned so far, almost all of them have been killed for one reason: Shia of Ali ibn Abi Talib. And this is exactly the same reason why Kumail was killed. I mean, I wish I could tell you, there is a companion who wasn't killed. It is as if the greatest crime under the regime of Bani Umayyah was to be a Shia. A crime which was instantly punishable by death was to be Shia. And so when they were looking for Kumail when he found out that Hajjaj Mal'un, who was known for his bughd of Al Muhammad, when Hajjaj Mal'un was looking for Kumail in Kufa, it says Kumail left Kufa and found a place of hiding. But as a result of that, Hajjaj grabbed his family members and his tribesmen, and he stopped their income, he stopped the flow of money to them. And when he found that out, he said, look, I am an old man. Some say he was 80 when he was killed, some say he was 90 when he was killed. He said, I'm an old man, I don't have much left anyhow. Why should I make the life of my other tribesmen difficult? He came out himself. He went straight to Hajjaj. When Hajjaj was informed Kumail has come, Hajjaj said something. He says to him, are you the Shia of Ali? Are you that Kumail of Ali? When he says Ali, Kumail recited salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. He said, Salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi Ali wa Sayyidi Maulai. As soon as he heard that, he passed, the judgment for his death. He signed his death certificate. He says, go and behead him. And so, sadly, he was beheaded. But I end with this. You remember last week, for those of you who were here, I said something. I said the hate for Ali ibn Abi Talib, the bughd of Ali ibn Abi Talib, it exists in the DNA of some people. You don't believe me? You see it for yourselves. It is not that Shia killing only happened then. Shia killing still takes place. Shia genocide. Islamophobia is one thing. But who's talking about Shia phobia? Who's talking about Shia genocide? No one. Because everyone's too shy. We want to be politically correct. We don't want to offend anyone. But what's your offense going to do when people are being killed? I mean, just last week, I'm sure you've read it. In Blackburn, Shia graves were desecrated. Telegraph. Shia graves desecrated, destroyed. Why? Because there was an image of Alam on it, and there was the name of Ali. I don't know what it is with the name of Ali. Exactly, absolutely right. What makes it even worse, at first they thought maybe it's accidental or it broke off. But then when they referred to experts, they said, no, look, this is done on purpose. Number one, the stone's too heavy. Number two, it had the Shahadatain written on, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, which were left untouched. But the third line, which says, the third testimony, wa anna aliyan amirul mu'mineen, the Ali was carved out of it. The hate for Ali is in the DNA. The DNA. You remember when they destroyed the graves in Baqi? You remember when they destroyed the graves of Imam al-Hussein, Bani al-Abbas? That hate continues today. And they prove it. Out of all the names that he could have carved out, whoever this munafiq was, this animal was, he carves out Ali. As if by doing, Khudai kasam kitna bewakoof hai Ali ka dushman. As if carving out a name of Ali is going to do any damage to Ali ibn Abi Talib. And so, who was it? Whose graves were? At the end, the son came out, he said, look, this is my late father's grave. No one even knew him. He didn't even have any enemies. In fact, it's two graves. Next to him is my wife, who died of cancer at the age of 25. Now, how sad is that? Your young wife, 25, dies of cancer. Your father's passed away. Someone comes and breaks. Simply was there is the alam of Maulana Abbas on one side and the name of Ali in the third line. Allah, Muhammad, Ali. And what makes it even more worse is that whoever kicked this or broke this and threw it down, along with the name of Ali, he threw down the name of Allah and Muhammad. Ignorance is not the word. It is we're giving them too much ease. Animal is the word. You can be ignorant, yet still have some human values. But you can be learned and yet be an animal. And this is what the enemy of Ali is. An animal. Haywan. That a person who is dead, who can do nothing to you, and you still come down and kick his grave, and you carve out the name of Ali ibn Abi Talib. You remember the hadith? On the day of judgment, the sirat, only he will pass the sirat who has the jawaz from Ali ibn Abi Talib, who has the pass from Ali ibn Abi Talib, signed by Ali ibn Abi Talib, Qasimun Nari wal Jannah. Pray to Pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protects the lives of the mu'mineen, the mu'minat, the Shia of Ali ibn Abi Talib salawatullah wa salamu alayhi. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all of the mu'mineen, mu'minat who are working hard to uphold the legacy of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salatu wassalam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect all of the graves of the mu'mineen, the Imam Bargas, the Masajid, the Husayniyah, especially upcoming. Muharram is not far, 40 plus days or so until Muharram. Mu'mineen will gather, majalis will re-begin. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect the lives of all of the Shia from Muharram until Arba'in and after that, inshaAllah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Qul huwa Allahu ahad, Allahu samad, lam yalid wa lam yulad, wa lam yakun lahu kufuwan ahad.